Sun in Aquarius, the fabulous Aquarians out there. Now, what's so interesting to me about this, and I've really like sort of meditated, contemplated on this because I'm asked a lot about the age of Aquarius. So that's for another video. But where it applies to somebody with a sun in the sign of Aquarius, this is about a person who, and a path really, where you come to understand that yes, there's this very humanitarian energy associated with this sign. There's sort of this collective energy associated with this sign where we care about each other, we work on each other's behalf as well. However, the thing is, this is a sign with a very strong duality. And so that sense of, we all are equal, right? There's a strong sense of equality. This is the sign of human rights, after all, as well. And equality, like activist movements, equality movements, all of this fall under this sign. But it is ultimately rooted in a belief that we are all equal because we are all special in our own way. And you have a right to live whoever it is that you are and live your life as you choose, because that's what I got to do. That's really what it's based in. So yes, it's a sign of community, but it's also a sign of a very strong individualistic tendency, a very strong need to be itself and to find a sense of fulfillment on its own. Now, Aquarius is also it's considered sort of typically a sign of rebellion. Now, as I've shared, the sun and where your sun is where you become more you over the course of this life, not necessarily just what you sort of pop out into the world as. It's sort of characteristics that you explore and you ultimately are asked to evolve if you are going to find the best of you and feel more comfortable within your own self and within your own skin and feel like you're able to share the best of you, that the best of you is recognized as well. All of that falls under the jurisdiction of the sun sign, which is why I think the sun is something you become more over the course of the life. But you kind of start out with the lower end, the lower tendencies, if you will, of a sign as part of this exploration before elevating the characteristics of this sign. So the lower end tends to be rebellion for rebellion's sake. It is often in early life that that people with sun in Aquarius will do things like sort of, just characteristically dress really different, want to really stand out in that respect, as a way to assert their independence. But ultimately, true independence, and a part of their learning is that true independence comes when you trust yourself, you trust your heart, you trust your creativity, and you trust your intuition. And it is an act of rebellion because so few people actually do that, actually are able to get in touch with that voice within and then live in accordance with that. But that's ultimately what life and where life leads them to go. And so when I look at Aquarius, sun in Aquarius, this is a sign that needs to have some outlet. Like, that doesn't mean that they can't still, do a good job and sort of follow the rules, if you will. After all, the traditional ruling planet of this sign is Saturn, but they sort of manifest the more scientific side of Saturn, if you will. And I've really found that Aquarius, it's such an interesting energy because we see how all different types of people can fall under this sign. We have people who really sort of reject intuition in favor of just intellect, which is very Ayn Rand, who was an Aquarian as well. But also, as I said, Age of Aquarius. When we think of Age of Aquarius, we think of interconnection, we think of spirituality, we think of really having a more holistic understanding of life as well. Which is why the sign of Aquarius also, in some circles, also rules astrology as well. When astrology is approached, now it depends how you approach astrology, which sort of determines the different sign that might rule it. Some people say Gemini rules astrology. Some people say it's Scorpio or Pisces. When you look at astrology as a form of divination, yes, it could be Scorpio, Pisces. If you look at astrology as blending science with intuition, science and art coming together, sort of mathematical knowledge with spiritual understanding. That is when astrology becomes sort of falls under the domain of this sign. And so you'll very often have sort of Aquarians fall, just like the two waves of the sign, they'll fall under one of either camp. They'll be either the very sort of Saturnian scientific type, or they will be the more Uranian type, which is really like finds it difficult to have a boss, needs to do its own thing, needs to go its own way, and really, really does need a creative outlet of sorts. So they feel like they're constantly in touch with their intuition, and they're in touch with that voice that in some way expresses their own specialness. It expresses their own way of asserting that, yes, we're all equal because we're all special, and I'm going to be special over here. They need to have that thing that allows them to be over here. So it may not be that they're, like Virginia Woolf, the Virginia Woolf type of Aquarian, where they literally need a room of their own if they are going to write, if they are going to create. But it can just be a place within their own heart, within their own mind, a space that they carve out where they can nurture that voice of creativity and that voice of agency that desires to be expressed. So as Aquarians grow in their younger age, they can be rebellious just for its own sake. As they grow and as the sign evolves, they become more intuitive. They become more respectful of people of diverse backgrounds, diverse opinions, but they also become more and more independent, more and more self-trusting. And it's really when they're given complete agency to go their own way, and they absolutely trust their right to do so, that they're able to bring forward their more higher understandings, the more higher ideals of this sign, which ultimately has to do with living what is true for you. Not in the sense that Sagittarian necessarily does, which is more from a place of passion, but Aquarian does it more from a place that has to do with intellectual understanding, yes, but also has to do with just the way that they're living their life, which often can be very eccentric, can seem very radically different to other people as they grow more and more in their eccentricities as they grow older. But actually, if you talk to them and if you ask them, you'll find that everything they do makes absolute perfect sense. And they're able to express this much more clearly the older that they get as well. The age, the part of life, like sort of the phase of life that they express is retirement. Is when you have your second youth, your second childhood, when you've sort of done what you were supposed to do and now you can enjoy your life. Well, in some way, these people are constantly on that process. That's where they find themselves when they feel that, okay, I did what I was supposed to do. Now let me enjoy my life. Now let me do what I really want to do. When they're focused on that, what they really want to do, that's when they are at their absolute happiest. Well, thank you so much for watching. Until we connect again, take care. Thank you for watching this lesson as part of Synchronicity University. You can go online at synchronicityuniversity.com or click on your screen if you're on YouTube right now to access even more video lessons, to access horoscopes, interviews with some of the most amazing astrologers in the world, and so much more.